Before we talk about skill, timing, or taste, let's talk excuses. The wildest excuses ever heard in Hell's Kitchen aren't whispered apologies. They're full-volume defenses under pressure. When pans burn and tickets stack, blame starts flying. Faulty ovens, distracting teammates, mysterious timers, even gravity itself. These moments matter because pressure strips polish and leaves instinct. In a faceless video, the words carry everything. The pauses, the panic, the bravado. Excuses become confessions, revealing who owns mistakes and who dodges them. That's why these lines stick with us raw, human, unforgettably, long after the heat fades, and lingering in memory far beyond service. Before we talk about talent or taste, let's talk about pressure, the kind that melts confidence faster than butter on a hot pan. Hell's Kitchen isn't just a cooking show. It's a psychological pressure cooker where every second counts and every mistake demands an explanation. In this video, you'll discover the wildest excuses contestants have ever given when everything goes wrong. Some shocking, some hilarious, and some you probably never noticed before. We'll break down what really happens when stress takes over and why these moments reveal more than just bad cooking. Watch till the end, because the final insight changes how you see pressure forever. Welcome to Hell's Kitchen. Before we talk about the excuses, the shouting, or the viral moments, it's important to understand the price of a single mistake in Hell's Kitchen. This isn't a normal cooking environment where errors can be quietly fixed or plated over. Every wrong move here has weight. One overcooked protein, one missed garnish, 1 second too latent, the entire team can feel the impact instantly. In Hell's Kitchen, a mistake doesn't stay personal. It becomes public, loud, and unforgettable. The clock is the first enemy. Service runs on relentless timing, where seconds feel like minutes and minutes feel like failure. Contestants aren't just cooking. They're racing against an unforgiving countdown while orders stack up faster than they can clear them. There's no pause button, no reset, no moment to breathe. When tickets keep printing and pans keep heating, decision-making becomes instinctive. That's when cracks start to show. Even skilled chefs find themselves rushing, guessing, and reacting instead of executing. Then there's the heat trill, physical heat that never lets up. Industrial stoves blast at full power, ovens roar, oil pops, and sweat becomes part of the uniform. Kitchens like this are designed for professionals, but Hell's Kitchen pushes that environment to its extreme. Under this heat, focus slips, hands shake, communication breaks down. A simple task suddenly feels overwhelming, and when something goes wrong, the body reacts before the mind can catch up. Add to that the constant presence of cameras. Every movement is recorded. Every reaction is captured. Contestants know that nothing is private, not frustration, not confusion, not panic. This awareness changes behavior. Some chefs overcompensate, trying to appear confident even when they're lost. Others freeze, afraid that one wrong decision will define their entire journey. The pressure of being watched doesn't just document mistakes, it amplifies them. What makes Hell's Kitchen especially intense is that accountability is immediate. There's no delay between failure and confrontation. When a dish is sent back, the reason must be explained instantly, often in front of the entire brigade. That moment standing under bright lights, surrounded by noise, heat, and judgment where excuses are born. Not because contestants are careless, but because the environment demands an answer right now, whether they're ready or not. Team dynamics only increase the pressure. One person's slip-up can derail an entire service, and resentment builds quickly. Chefs start watching each other instead of their stations, anticipating blame before it arrives. Communication becomes sharper, sometimes aggressive, as everyone tries to protect their position. In that chaos, clarity disappears, and responsibility becomes something people instinctively dodge. This is why Hell's Kitchen produces moments that feel raw and extreme. The stakes are real, the conditions are relentless, and the margin for error is almost non-existent. When time is elapsing, heat is suffocating, and cameras are locked in. Even the strongest chefs are pushed to their limits, and that's exactly where the most memorable explanations begin. Before we talk about accountability, growth, or redemption, we have to sit in the moment when a dish fails and silence hits the kitchen. That pause right after a plate is rejected is where excuses ignite. In Hell's Kitchen, failure doesn't arrive gently. It crashes into the service line, announced by raised voices, returned plates, and eyes turning toward the person responsible. When that happens, the instinct to protect yourself takes over faster than logic ever could. When dishes fail, the explanation usually comes before reflection. Contestants don't have time to process what went wrong. They're pushed to respond immediately. The heat is still on, tickets are still printing, and the brigade is already behind. In that chaos, blame becomes a shield. It's easier to point at a malfunctioning oven, a confusing call, or a teammate who didn't communicate than to admit a personal misstep in front of everyone. Blame shifting often starts small. A missed seasoning becomes the garnish wasn't ready. An overcooked steak turns into the pan was too hot. These excuses sound technical, almost reasonable, which makes them tempting. They allow contestants to appear knowledgeable while quietly redirecting responsibility. In a kitchen where confidence equals survival, admitting fault can feel like handing over ammunition. Team-based cooking makes this even more volatile. When one dish fails, it rarely stays isolated. Delays ripple through the line, tempers flare, and suddenly multiple stations are affected. Contestants begin defending their space aggressively, narrating their version of events before anyone else can define it for them. The louder and faster the explanation, the safer they feel. Silence, in contrast, feels dangerous. There's also a psychological layer at play. Under extreme stress, the brain searches for external causes to make sense of sudden failure. It's not always deliberate dishonesty. Sometimes contestants genuinely believe their excuses in the moment. Pressure distorts perception, memory blurs. The mind rewrites the last few seconds in a way that feels less threatening. That's how confident claims are made even when footage later proves otherwise. What makes these moments so intense is how quickly excuses are challenged. In Hell's Kitchen, authority doesn't wait. When blame is shifted, it's often questioned immediately, forcing contestants to either double down or unravel. Some stick to their story, hoping conviction will outweigh accuracy. Others crumble, their explanations changing mid-sentence as the reality of the mistake becomes unavoidable. These exchanges reveal more than cooking ability. They expose how individuals respond when control slips away. Some contestants deflect aggressively, pushing responsibility onto anyone within reach. Others use passive excuses, blaming circumstances rather than people. A few attempt humor or disbelief, hoping to soften the blow. Each response is a survival tactic shaped by fear, pride, and the need to stay in the competition. Under fire, excuses aren't just words, they're reactions. They emerge in real time, fueled by adrenaline and desperation, turning simple cooking errors into dramatic confrontations that linger long after the plates are cleared. Before we talk about technique, leadership, or redemption arcs, we have to understand what's happening inside the mind when an excuse forms. In Hell's Kitchen, excuses aren't planned statements. They're reflexes. The moment something goes wrong, fear arrives first. Fear of elimination, fear of judgment, fear of being exposed as not good enough. That fear triggers panic, and panic doesn't ask for permission, it takes control. Under pressure, the brain shifts into survival mode. Logical thinking steps back while instinct steps forward. Contestants aren't calmly analyzing their mistakes. They're trying to protect their identity in real time. An excuse becomes emotional armor. It creates distance between the person and the failure, even if that distance only lasts a few seconds. In an environment where weakness feels dangerous, self-defense feels necessary. Panic also distorts time. A few seconds of confusion can feel like an eternity, and in that stretched moment, the mind scrambles for anything that explains the failure without self-blame. This is why excuses often sound rushed or incomplete. Contestants speak before they think because silence feels like surrender. Admitting fault feels permanent, while an excuse feels like a temporary escape. There's also the role of ego. Many chefs enter Hell's Kitchen with a strong sense of self-belief, often reinforced by past success. When that identity is threatened, the reaction can be intense. An excuse isn't just about avoiding punishment, it's about defending the version of themselves they believe in. Accepting blame would mean accepting that they're not as in control as they thought, and that realization can be more frightening than elimination itself. Self-defense doesn't always look aggressive. Sometimes it's subtle, downplaying the mistake, minimizing its impact, or shifting focus to external chaos. These softer excuses are just as revealing. They show an internal struggle between accountability and self-preservation. The contestant knows something went wrong but isn't ready to fully own it while the pressure is peaking. What makes Hell's Kitchen unique is how quickly these psychological responses are exposed. The environment doesn't allow time for emotional regulation. There's no space to calm down, reflect, or reframe. Everything happens in the open, under heat, noise, and scrutiny. That's why pressure becomes a truth serum. It strips away rehearsed confidence and reveals raw behavior. In these moments, character shows itself, not the polished version people present in interviews, but the instinctive version that emerges when control slips. Some contestants lash out, projecting fear onto others. Some retreat, offering quiet justifications that barely mask their anxiety. A few manage to pause, absorb the hit, and respond honestly, even when it costs them. Those reactions are rarely taught. They're exposed. Pressure doesn't create personality, but it reveals it. When fear and panic collide with ambition, excuses become windows into how people protect themselves, how they handle vulnerability, and how they respond when their self-image is challenged in the harshest possible way. Before we talk about algorithms, thumbnails, or trending clips, we need to understand why these moments connect so deeply with people in the first place. The reason Hell's Kitchen excuses go viral isn't just because they're dramatic hits, because they're human. At their core, these moments reflect reactions everyone recognizes. Stress, defensiveness, confusion, and denial aren't exclusive to a TV kitchen. They show up in offices, classrooms, relationships, and everyday life. When a contestant snaps under pressure or rushes to explain a mistake, viewers see themselves, not as chefs, but as people who've been put on the spot and asked to answer for something that went wrong. That instant scramble to justify, deflect, or protect pride is universal. It's uncomfortable, and that discomfort is compelling. Audiences don't just watch these moments, they feel them. What makes these reactions so shareable is their unpredictability. A calm service can turn chaotic in seconds, and the emotional shift is sudden and raw. Viewers aren't watching a scripted performance. They're witnessing real-time breakdowns and recoveries. That authenticity cuts through polish and production, making even small exchanges feel significant. Faceless storytelling doesn't weaken this effect, it sharpens it. When faces aren't shown, attention shifts to tone, pacing, and words. The raised voice, the hesitation before an excuse, the defensive edge in a response, these details become the focus. Without facial cues, the drama lives in the sound and the situation, allowing viewers to project their own experiences onto the moment. The story becomes more personal because it isn't tied to a single expression. This is why audio-driven or narration-led content performs so well with these scenes. The absence of faces removes distraction and highlights emotion. Listeners fill in the blanks with their imagination, making the tension feel closer and more immersive. Drama doesn't rely on visual reaction shots. It lives in context, pressure, and consequence. There's also a social element. Viral moments invite judgment, discussion, and debate. People replay excuses and argue whether they were justified, exaggerated, or dishonest. These conversations thrive because the situations feel familiar. Everyone has an opinion because everyone has been in some version of that moment, caught between responsibility and self-defense. The contrast between high stakes and simple mistakes adds another layer of intrigue. A slightly overcooked dish, triggering a major confrontation, feels extreme, but that exaggeration mirrors real life under pressure. Small errors often cause outsized reactions when expectations are high, and watching that unfold feels both shocking and validating. Hell's Kitchen provides a perfect storm: intense pressure, immediate consequences, and emotional exposure. When those elements collide, the result is content that doesn't need faces, effects, or heavy editing to land. The reactions speak for themselves, turning brief moments into shareable, memorable experiences that travel far beyond the kitchen walls. At the end of the day, Hell's Kitchen shows us something bigger than cooking. Under extreme pressure, excuses come easily, but accountability is and that difference matters. When the heat is on and there's nowhere to hide, the truth surfaces fast. These moments remind us that pressure doesn't create character, it exposes it. How someone reacts when things go wrong tells the real story. If you enjoyed breaking down these unforgettable moments and want more deep dives into high-pressure reality TV, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned because the next breakdown might change how you see pressure forever.